to the Recovery Daily Podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Abbasi. I'm a grateful recovering alcoholic and stroke survivor. And yesterday I had a really exciting day. I got to be a guest on one of my friends' podcast, and that was really exciting. I actually had this hope that eventually I would be invited onto his podcast, and I was, and I felt really special. Um, this is somebody that I look up to a lot, and he's always so inspiring. And it's funny how we can see something in other people that they don't see in themselves. And when I look at him and I listen to him, he gives me this sense of like calm and inspiration, and like, this guy knows how to meditate. This guy knows how to pray. This guy, like, the answers are in there. And if I were to say that to him, I've actually, at the beginning of the podcast, I'm like, I just want you to know how inspiring you are to me. And you can just see the humble immediately come over his face. But I was just really excited to be a part of it, and that episode will be coming to you soon. Will be live soon. So the podcast is called Mission Driven You by Will Sampson. Will Sampson doesn't seem right in my head right now, but that's what it is. So you can see him at willsampson.com, and it's the podcast this is why I didn't think I would be invited, because his podcast is very much focused on life coaching for executives and like C-level people. And I thought, even though I have a sort of as executive mindset because of my experiences in my career, I am now removed from that and was feeling like, what can I give? What can I give to the career world now? But it's funny, there was some part in there, I don't know if it was when we were recording or not, but he said he could see the career side of me coming out. So I was flattered by that, because I like the career side of me. It makes me feel smart and confident and achieved. And I don't think that that's a bad thing. It's it's one of those things that I was mourning when I had to walk away from my job for medical retirement. So it was a great conversation, and he nailed it on the questions he asked me. So I will let you know when it's up so that you can listen to it, because I think that it's right in line with what we talk about here. So the topic today is spiritual agony. That's what we read about this morning. Unfortunately, I don't recall what book we were reading from, but you could probably Google spiritual agony story. And what's today? Tuesday? Yeah, I don't know what book we were reading from. Anyway, you can probably Google it and say spiritual agony story, Alcoholics Anonymous, and it'll probably come up. But what it was bringing up for me is making amends to people when you don't feel like you played a role in the issue, in the downfall of the relationship, and feeling like that victim mindset. And this is really an interesting thing for me to think about, because I had conversations in the past, over the past, I guess it was several years ago, with another person in my sobriety network, and we were talking about when we're doing step 4 and we're writing down all of those people that we're pissed off at. I mean, that's how I translate it too. In the beginning, writing down who are all those people that I'm pissed off at? Why am I pissed off? And then what is my role? What is my role in that relationship? And so for me, it was easy for me to figure out what my role was because I was pissed off. So the 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 theme for my step 4 that came out when I was done was fear of abandonment. And I just talked about that um, 2 days ago, and it came up a little bit again yesterday. And what I found after, it's amazing, by the way, how all of this ends up tying together. Each week there's like a theme. Anyway, my mind went blank. This has been happening so much this week, which means I'm pushing myself too hard. Um, and it makes me feel all embarrassed and lack of confidence and all that stuff when I'm like thinking about what I'm saying and I have a really what I feel like powerful point, and then it's just gone. It just disappears. And I just connected with another person on Facebook who has a brain injury from an accident. And she had posted on Facebook that she has this cognitive disorder where she will be in the middle of talking about something and it's just gone. And I'm like, I have that too. It's it's really frustrating. So let's see if I can get back on track. I'll try to work my way back to what we were talking about. It's so the theme that came up for me today is about making amends when I don't feel like I played. Ow, sorry. Oops. Boris just stepped on my knee and made it go the opposite way. Um, Making amends when I don't feel like I played a role in it. And how do I like I'm trying to get myself back. So that's part of listening to this podcast by a stroke survivor, by the way. Okay, so we write down who we're pissed off at, why we're pissed off, and then what is our role in it. And I found that the theme in my step 4 was abandonment issues. And once I started working through these abandonment issues, this was the beginning, okay, the very beginning of me noticing that I have just as much a responsibility to pick up the phone as they do. And just because somebody goes in a different direction in their life, um, doesn't mean that I don't still own responsibility to try to nurture the relationship. Just because they walked away doesn't mean it's all on them to call me, but it feels like it is. It feels like it's, well, if you didn't go away, we would be right down the street from each other, or, and I'm dealing with that a lot right now because I want to face it. I want to start talking to these people that I felt like walked away from me, and then I put it all in their hands to stay connected with me. And that's not okay. All that's doing is hurting me. I am isolating myself, like I talked about a couple days ago. And if I'm what did I hear this morning? Being resentful is like holding a hot coal waiting to throw it at somebody. I'm getting burned. That's what I heard this morning. And by forgiving other people who have wronged me, or I feel like had wronged me, when really they were just bettering their own lives, um, if I'm forgiving them, then I am able to move forward. And if I'm not forgiving them, that scar from that event lives on. That scar is not getting mended. Um, there's no way for it to heal it if I'm not going to look at it anymore and I'm not going to do anything about it. I got a text from my sponsor this morning probably because of my post yesterday about this episode and sharing that it's time for me to go see my psychiatrist, whom I did, for the record, reach out to yesterday. So that's happening. But my sponsor sent me a message and asked me if I was okay and don't forget to take action. And so I responded back that that's exactly what I have done. And because of the program, I know what to do. I know that I need to take that action. And when I have a resentment, it's the same. Anything like any of these terms, resentment, anger, it's all pain. It's all um, a problem that's happening between my ears. And I need to do something about it. The action may be different in any situation, whether it's I've got an internal pain. Yeah, I've got like a symptom of depression happening. I need to do something about it versus I'm angry at this person. I need to do something about it. Those do something about it are different. The action is different. But it's like when I am upset with somebody, it's like if I hold on to that anger or resentment towards that person, it's like I have some kind of feeling that I'm hurting them. Like, well, I'll show them I'm just going to be angry at them. You know, I'm not going to talk to them. I'm not going to call them. I'm just going to be angry at them. I'm never going to talk to them again, in extreme cases. Well, that's not doing anything for me. That is, for me, in my opinion, that is leaving the scar there and not doing anything about it. And it's always going to be damage that's going to sit there um, in my life and only in my life. By not talking to somebody, I'm not hurting them at all. What we forget when we don't talk to somebody is that they are still living. There's a whole entire life going on around them, and it most likely uh, doesn't have anything to do with us. And out of sight, out of mind is what I have noticed. When I see other people make the decision that, well, I'm not going to talk to them anymore. There isn't a lot of hurt that you're giving that person by just not talking to them. It's not really it's obviously not resolving anything, but it's also not causing pain for them or hurting them, if that's what you think you're doing. Um, what is actually, I think, the most effective way of of I guess allowing somebody to see the deep pain they have caused you is not to stop talking to them, but to start talking to them. I cannot communicate to another person the deep pain that they've caused me by just pulling away from them. It doesn't communicate anything at all, um, in my opinion. What communicates to them is, um, yeah, I feel like you have lied to me my entire life. I feel like you are not the person I thought you were. Um, you hurt me, and this is what it makes me feel like. You know, that is the only way that I have found to lift spiritual agony, because you are not putting the other person through any agony by releasing them from your life. If that is the way to release your spiritual agony, that's another way of dealing with somebody, is to, you know, not allow them to be a part of your life. But with that, you've got to let it go. I can't just say, I'm never going to talk to you again. And then every time your name comes up, I'm like, what the fuck? I hate them. Or, that is holding on to the anger. That is letting the scar sit. But if I were to say, you hurt me and it's unrepairable, I do not want to have you in my life anymore, and then I stop having you in my life, then I've got to put you in my God box, or I've got to ask my higher power to take it away from me, or I need to, however one might figure out how to let something go, that has to happen in order for that spiritual agony to be released. Everyone is sick in some way. That is something that I have learned in sobriety. Um, the fact that I thought I was unique was really allowing me to have a victim mindset. By having relationships with people and then coming out of that being like, oh, well, they hurt me, and they don't have any idea what they've done. Screw them. I'm not talking to them anymore. Um, it's really not helping them either. And I know that one can be so angry to be like, I don't want to help them. I'm the one, excuse me, I'm the one who got hurt. And so I'm just going to take care of me. Screw them. Um, I don't know. It's just not the way that I roll. I think it used to be something that I've done, and I think that's where a lot of my fear of abandonment stuff came from, because I was the one who pulled away. I was the one that isolated. I was like, screw you. You're not taking the time to call me. So screw you. But when I end a relationship with screw you, um, I'm not resolving anything for myself. Um, so hopefully that I articulated that as intended, but I feel like it's important to acknowledge that because I'm not unique, it allows me to look at the other person and think, they maybe there are some things in their life that happened that have resulted in this behavior. And what I learned in my sobriety program is to pray for the other person. And oh boy, that's hard, but I have practiced it and it has worked. It has worked for me to take somebody at work. I'm thinking of one person in particular, to take this person at work who thought that they were the greatest thing since sliced bread, um, who thought that they had all the answers, who thought that they were like so freaking connected to the executives and they were untouchable and their head barely fit through the door. It was so aggravating to me to see somebody work no harder than I work, but just have the ability to schmooze. And I could see that they were full of shit. Okay. I try not to cuss on here, but sometimes you have to. So looking at this person and being like, they are full of shit and they are lying and blah, 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 blah. And I'm looking at them and I'm like, screw that dude. I'm not helping him. I am not giving him the satisfaction of like praising his work or anything because he's full of shit and I can see right through him. Why can't anybody else see right through him? Can you tell that this person bothered me? So, nothing is not, I'm not causing that person any pain. I'm not harming them. They could give a crap about me, really. So, what I needed to do, because I was so frustrated and wanted that person to suffer, I wanted that person to get fired. And that's not healthy for me. And working with another person, and I worked with a lot of different people in this situation. I talked to people in my sobriety, I talked to people in my career that were mentors for me. And everybody kind of communicated in different words to me that he is sick in some way. You know, he has experiences in his life that have caused him to behave this way. And it's not my job to shine a light on his problems and his uh, incompetency. It's not my job. My job is to fulfill my role at work and to accept other people for who they are. And when I talked to my sobriety folks about it, the conclusion was pray for him. And in the beginning, when I would pray for him, it was bullshit. Like I didn't want to wish the best for him because I felt like he deserved to suffer. And I just kept doing it anyway. And this is a theme of what I was talking to Will about in the podcast yesterday is doing it anyway, doing the next right thing. The advice, the suggestions, I should say, the suggestions, I put it in quotes, that I am given in my sobriety program um, are given to me because I have a choice whether to do it or not. And if I do it, it's the next right thing. If I don't do it, then I might as well just say, you have another day of being pissed off. That's just what it's going to be. if I choose to do the next right thing, to pray for this person that I don't want to pray for, um, I'm I'm giving myself an opportunity to release that spiritual agony. And if done consecutively, day after day after day, maybe it's going to work. I don't know if it's going to work, but maybe it's going to work. You know what's not going to work? Doing nothing and just being pissed off about him. Um, what ended up happening to this guy, by the way, side story, I put him in my God box for a really long time. And finally, he was let go from the company. Um, it turns out, and I've shared with you, longtime listeners, that everybody I've put in my God box over the years, except for my boss, was let go from the company. So I have a very keen bullshit radar, apparently. But anyway, by praying for this guy, I was able to focus on what my role was at the company. I was able to not necessarily forgive him for being a liar, but I was able to let go of his mental illness, right? I mean, that's a mental illness as far as I'm concerned when you are a constant liar. And I'm not talking about being some sort of influencer. It's a liar. And that's a mental illness, I believe. And when I was able to let go of his mental illness and recognize that I can't change people, places, and things, then I stopped robbing myself of the power to do the next right thing. And I heard about that this morning, the power of choice. When I am succumbing to either my own mental illness or I'm getting wrapped up in trying to fix someone else's mental illness, or I'm trying to fix them despite their mental illness, I'm robbing myself of the ability to choose the next right thing. The choice is no longer mine because I'm always going to default to pain, to my own suffering. Some of the stories that I heard this morning, one in the reading was about forgiving someone who really took somebody's life, whether it was physically or emotionally, taking somebody else's life, and then being able to forgive them. And when we see people in the program who are able to forgive their abuser, able to forgive somebody, a murderer, you know, it's able, we're able to be hopeful for our own ability to forgive. And that is work, but that is what builds that spiritual condition that has the ability to get stronger and stronger like a muscle. Um, when we are able to be forgiving, and now this is a hard one, be forgiving for getting laid off, for getting laid off, being forgiving to a company, to an organization, much less our boss or the people in charge, being forgiving for something that really devastates me if I'm getting laid off. Now, I'm putting it in the context of me. I don't have a career right now, and I've never been. No, that's not true. I was really, I was laid off when I was trying to get sober in my first job. Did not stand behind me and they ended up letting me go. And so I can speak from experience here. So I have had a resentment. This is healthy because I don't think I've talked about this before. I've had a resentment towards this organization for letting me go. Because what I found is when I started working for the company that I ended up medically retiring from, they did not let me go. They helped me. They invested in me. And that is what I feel like is true, is a company caring about their people. Now, what I want to acknowledge is that that first company that I was trying to get sober the first time, them letting go of me was a business decision. It was not because they didn't like me. It was because I was a risk. They let go of me because I was not something that they could trust. Um, Whether it's right or wrong, I need to look at that for what it is. It didn't have anything to do with me as a person. It had to do with me as an asset to the company or not asset to the company. And it's time to forgive that organization for that. Whenever I see their logo anywhere, I actually feel a tinge of resentment towards the logo. I mean, come on. Why am I resentful towards the logo? Like that entire corporation is a terrible group of people, and it's just not true. They made a business decision that they felt was the best interest of the company, and it's time for me to let that go. So maybe I can figure out how to do that. It's not just like that though. It's not easy to just be like, okay, it's time. It's time. I'm gonna let it go. I'm gonna forgive you. It's something that I think needs to be focused on for a period of time and talked about and worked through. And the best way to do that is with another person, somebody else in my sobriety, so that we can share these experiences with each other. Sorry, I have a itch on my back. My hair sheds and it gets into my shirt, and it is the most itchy thing in the world. I got it. It's rare that I actually find the piece of hair that's itchy me. Okay, TMI. Um, so yeah, so let's bring it down to a conclusion here. One of the things that we recite at the end of sobriety meeting is the Lord's Prayer. And part of it is forgive us as we forgive those who trespass against us. And somebody brought light to that today about how I want to be forgiven in the same way that I forgive other people. And I have to fulfill that second part of that. And when I do, all of this practice of reciting that at the end of all of my meetings and is is creating that feeling of me not being alone, of me not having to face all of this stuff alone. And it's like what came to mind today for me was it's like venturing into a castle that a dragon has taken hold of, and you have to go in there yourself with just your sword and rescue the princess. That's what it feels like when I'm trying to face my resentments alone. It's just it's just nearly impossible. It's like I need a superpower in order to do that. And the superpower is actually just inviting somebody else into the castle with me. That's all I need. I need somebody to distract the dragon while I work on saving the princess. And that's really what's going on inside of me. It feels like on a daily basis. So, that's it. That's what I have. So guess what the cartoon of the episode is going to be today? That's right. It's going to be me venturing into a dragon's castle and rescuing the princess. That's going to be fun. Okay. Thanks for joining me today. Thanks for showing up for yourself, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.